This is the woman in absolute 0 degrees. Here, superhumans are as common as cattle, and there's even a possibility of everyone gaining superpowers. This world no longer relies on mutations to acquire superpowers, but on a superpowered pill. The story begins at the port of Orleans, where a group of criminals has gathered at a harbor. They've come here for one man. The man possesses something they desperately want, the superpowered pill. Soon, the pill is spread all across the city, and dealer Robin is meeting 2 young men to make a transaction. Robin thought this would be a big opportunity, but to her surprise, the men wanted to take the pill for themselves. They pinned Robin to the ground, trying to steal the pills from her. Just then, a motorcycle zoomed in, interrupting them. A police officer got off, controlled everyone, took the pills, and arrested Robin. Everyone thought he was just arresting those involved in the transaction, but once the others left, he let Robin go. It turned out that they were working together and privately profiting in this manner. The next morning, a major arrived in a slum area, armed with a weapon. He followed the instructions on a piece of paper to a door. The people inside were highly suspicious, but Art claimed to be a familiar acquaintance here for pills. The next second, Art pulled out a thin rope and latched it onto the security chain. By pulling on the top, he opened the door and stepped inside. Inside, the room was full of holes, a total mess, with a beaten-down crocodile. And at the end of the room, a man still searching for pills. Art quickly chased after him, but little did he know, the man had already taken the pill. Immediately, his pupils changed, and his body began emitting steam. The next second, he transformed into a fiery figure and charged at Art. Art tried to dodge but fell to the ground, quickly recovering and firing a shotgun. However, this had no effect on the fiery man. He charged at Art again, and they fought once more. Art's gun was taken, and he was no match for the fiery man. Helpless, he had to escape the room and use a balcony to get to the next floor. The fiery man followed closely, taking 3 more pills. Art entered a room and turned on the shower, soaking his clothes, while the fiery man, engulfed in flames, entered the room. Just as Art pulled back the curtain, he ambushed the man, shoving his head into the furnace, and the shower head above extinguished the flames. Art asked the man who manufactured the superpowered pills, but the next second, he began to shake violently. Seeing the danger, Art quickly ran outside, but within seconds, the man exploded, and Art was thrown across the room. He was later awakened by a nearby child and quickly left before the police arrived. Back at his place, he treated the wound on his arm. He received a mysterious message on the fiery man's phone. The message was from Robin, the fiery man's cousin. Art pretended to be the fiery man and set up a meeting with her. Meanwhile, a superhuman was robbing a local bank, and the police had already surrounded the scene. Sheriff Frank found the back door of the bank, ready to sneak in. He pulled out a superpowered pill from his pocket, unscrewed it, and swallowed it without hesitation. This wasn't the first time Frank had taken a superpowered pill. He used it for self-defense against superhuman criminals. After taking the pill, he immediately activated a timer. Opening the back door, Frank entered the building with his weapon. On the ground near the door, some scattered bills were visible. Step by step, Frank made his way to the bank office, but as he ran forward, he noticed an invisible man blending into the wall behind him. The man, carrying 2 bags of money, chased Frank. As Frank reached the lobby, he was about to ask where the hostages were. Unexpectedly, the invisible man attacked him with the money bags, then immediately sprinted towards the exit of the bank. Frank picked up his weapon and chased after him, while the invisible man's body shifted colors like a chameleon. As Frank ran out, he shouted for his colleagues to follow the bags. The invisible man leapt over the police blockade and began running with the 2 bags of money. Frank, armed with his weapon, quickly pursued him, but the invisible man's escape caused panic among bystanders. Frank chased after him with a sprinting speed, and the invisible man, after colliding with a pedestrian, jumped onto a passing police car, leaping over it with parkour-like agility. At this point, Frank caught up with him, and the chase continued, the 2 of them running side by side. The invisible man deliberately knocked into a cyclist, grabbed the bike, and rode off, desperately trying to escape. While riding the bike, the man crashed into a car. After getting up, the man wasted no time and continued running. He eventually jumped onto a vintage trolley. However, when the invisible man opened the money bag, a burst of pink dust suddenly exploded. Frank, riding a bike, followed the trolley. When the driver heard the noise, he immediately stopped. The man blended into the crowd and got off the trolley. Frank, catching up, scared him, causing him to start running in panic. but the mysterious dust made the man visible again. At this point, police cars arrived, and the man ran into a restaurant, with Frank following closely behind. Frank shouted for him to stop and, in one swift move, tackled the man out of the door. The invisible man picked up Frank's weapon, and as the police arrived, they shouted for him to stop. As the police got out of their cars, they warned Frank to be careful, but in his anger, the invisible man fired at Frank. It turned out that Frank's superpower was skin hardening, and after getting up, he grabbed the invisible man and slammed him to the ground. In a fit of rage, Frank began to beat the invisible man, his punches even cracking the hard ground beneath them. His colleagues repeatedly called out for him to stop, and luckily, the injured officer only sustained a non-lethal wound. Afterward, Frank's superior immediately suspended him, stating that police officers were not allowed to illegally use pills. However, Frank convinced his superior, arguing it was for fighting crime, and the superior gave him a photo. He told Frank that the person in the photo, Art, was the supplier of the superpowered pills, and finding him was the only way to save the city. At the same time, Art was in a slum area, breaking into the home of a dealer of superpowered pills. Just as he was about to question the dealer, the thug turned and fled, swallowing his superpowered pill without hesitation. Immediately, he transformed into a fiery lord and charged at Art. Art, unfazed, shot him with a gun, and the two began fighting hand to hand. But quickly, the pill's effects started to wear off after 5 minutes, and the flames began to die down, so the thug took 3 more pills, fully reviving his fiery state and continuing to pursue Art. Art had anticipated this, and as the thug approached, Art ambushed him, shoving his head into a water basin and demanding to know who supplied him with the superpowered pills. It turned out that Art wasn't a supplier himself. He, too, was investigating the origins of the pills. Before the thug could respond, his body exploded in a fiery burst from the overdose, completely out of control. Fortunately, Art had taken the thug's phone before leaving. Soon after, he received a message about the pill deal and set up an ambush at the meeting point. When he arrived, to his surprise, the person arriving was a girl. Art didn't make a move immediately but waited for the girl to leave, then abducted her. As the girl screamed in panic, Art realized she was Robin, the thug's cousin. She had been selling the pills to save money for her sick mother's surgery, so she knew nothing about the true nature of the operation. Her cousin had told her to go to the supermarket if she ever got into trouble, so Art took her there. After Robin exchanged signals with the supermarket staff, she was led into an office. She revealed to the manager that Art was the one she had been working with, and the manager immediately swallowed a pill. After calling for backup, he and the arriving Art got into a fierce struggle, but Art, managing to fight off 3 opponents at once, ended up getting shot himself. Upon entering the truck, he discovered that every pill sold had a tracking chip inside. It turned out this gang was using pill users as guinea pigs to showcase the real effects to potential buyers. The highlighted location on the screen was the exhibition site. At this point, Robin, standing behind Art, seized the opportunity to escape, but as she jumped off the truck, she didn't realize that the manager, presumed dead, suddenly came back to life. His superpower was resurrection. Soon, the manager cornered Robin in a supermarket as she tried to flee. Just when Robin was about to be killed, Art arrived in time, shoving the manager aside. Then, he grabbed the manager's knife and plunged it into his heart. After waiting for the 5-minute timer to run out, Art finally breathed a sigh of relief, but due to excessive blood loss, he could barely move. He asked Robin to help him, and she, seeing the money, took him back to her home and treated his wound. When Art woke up, he explained that he meant no harm, he just wanted to find his wife. It turns out Art had taken the pill once before, but the effects were so terrifying that his wife died during childbirth, and their daughter was affected. Not only did she grow rapidly, but it seemed she had superpowers without needing the pills. When the military found out, they forcibly took his daughter. So, Art had been searching for the mastermind behind the pills. Hoping to find his daughter, they used the tracking data from the truck to find a casino. Art bought beer from a drunken man on the street and pretended to be drunk as he barged into the casino. When the guards tried to stop him, he made his move. Inside the casino, the man Art was after was heavily promoting his superpowered pills. Sitting in the audience were buyers from around the world. The man explained that the pills they sent out earlier were all experimental. The ones in his hands were the perfected version. He went on to explain that these pills were based on animal traits. A gecko could regenerate lost limbs, an octopus could mimic and camouflage, a gorilla frog could use its bones as weapons, and an owl had night vision, among others. The scientists had extracted these animals' memories and combined them with human genes to create the perfect superpowered pill. Now, Art had also disguised himself as a waiter and came to the event, but he didn't act hastily. He patiently watched the man perform. Then he saw a woman take the pill, but just then, one of the guards noticed him. Art pretended to serve drinks, moving closer to the man. The moment the man took the glass, Art immediately held him hostage. Suddenly, guns were pointed at him, and it seemed like Art was the target of everyone. At that moment, the man's henchman tried to take the pill to break the deadlock, but as soon as he swallowed it, his body exploded. The casino immediately descended into chaos, and during the woman's transformation into an ice figure, Art miraculously took down everyone except for the man. He was about to force the man to reveal where his daughter was, but just then, a police officer barged in. The officer demanded that Art put down his weapon, and the man took advantage of the distraction to swallow another pill. Realizing the situation was turning dangerous, both men fled. While running, Art quickly had an idea and smashed a nearby gas tank. When the man caught up, Art immediately turned and fired his gun. After the incident, Frank took Art away, and Art, helpless, had no choice but to explain. He told Frank to think for a second. If he was really the mastermind, would the entire police department send just one officer to capture him? Given that the pills were so widespread in the city, it was clear that the police must be involved too. Frank began to realize the truth, and sure enough, halfway through, they were ambushed by soldiers, but Frank had already slipped away. Art was soon taken to the docks. To Frank's surprise, the girl had tracked them here too. As they secretly entered the cruise ship's control room, they saw Art being locked in the ship's cargo hold via the surveillance feed. Frank told Robin to stay in the control room and keep watch while he went to rescue Art. Robin cleverly locked down the entire ship and guided Frank remotely through the surveillance. Just then, a guard on the ship noticed Frank. He quickly swallowed a pill and silently approached Frank from behind. Robin, in a panic, had no choice but to use the ship's microphone to warn Frank. The two men grappled, and Frank was shocked to discover that the guard could control his bones at will. Every joint in his body could stretch and rotate with ease. The guard wrapped himself around Frank like glue, but thanks to Robin's help, Frank was able to use the door to subdue him. However, the other guards had now noticed the disturbance in the control room. The bald-headed guard arrived at the control room door, punching it down without hesitation, but the room was empty. It turned out that Robin had already sabotaged the control system and escaped through the emergency exit. She found the room where Art's daughter was being held and hid her under the floorboards, escaping the pursuit. Meanwhile, Art had successfully dealt with the guards with Frank's help. Frank took Art and his daughter to the deck, and Robin arrived with Art's daughter just in time. After all the hardships, Art was finally reunited with his daughter, and they embraced, both in tears. But the danger wasn't over, and they had to keep running. Unbeknownst to them, someone had been waiting atop a shipping container. The man jumped down, his legs and arms sprouting sharp bone spikes. He quickly subdued Frank and tried to grab Art's daughter. At the crucial moment, Art arrived just in time, restraining the man and allowing the others to escape. Once there were no more obstacles, Art feigned a move to dodge the attack and then used his bone spikes to puncture the man's head. However, when he reached the lifeboats, he discovered Robin was missing. It turned out that during the escape, Robin had been captured by the guards. The big boss now threatened Art, using Robin's life to force him to hand over his daughter. Unable to abandon Robin, Art took out a long-lost pill and decided to end everything. With countless guns aimed at him, Art slowly walked up onto the deck. He swallowed the pill, and in an instant, intense energy spread from his feet, causing the world to seem like it had stopped. With a furious roar, the bullets flying toward him, along with the rain, turned to ash. With a wave of his hand, all the surrounding enemies turned to dust. But when the dust settled, Art collapsed, having exhausted all his energy. Robin, devastated, couldn't accept this reality. Just then, Art's daughter walked up to him. She placed her hands on his face and, using her resurrection ability, successfully brought him back to life. Art and his daughter left the city. Before leaving, he gave Robin a large sum of money, ensuring she could pay for her mother's treatment and also fulfill her dreams.